What are some tips perhaps to navigate complexity in business?
Well, look, business was never meant to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it, and the prize is worth fighting for. So therefore, don't expect to be handed it. So every day will probably be a new challenge if you're going to get into business. So what are some of the tips for handling that? It's a pretty broad set of problems, I suppose, and areas. So look, for the most part, I'd say I'll go back to telemetry in the business. I understand, let's say telemetry, we build software, we have companies who build software products, and we encourage them to load them to the gunnel with ways that you can understand how a customer's using their product. So if a customer's not making up the whole way through the journey with that system, whatever it might be, you can understand where the hurdles are. They may be using another part of it you didn't expect. And that's the Instagram story. If you've ever heard the Instagram story with the app that's bourbon, it started out as a bourbon rating app that had a pretty little photo filter. No one was rating bourbon, everyone was using the photo filter. They had enough telemetry to understand that and then give it to their business. And now we have Instagram. So, undertake it all with data. And I remember, it hasn't happened in Australia forever. I remember when we just barely skipped through. Sorry, we did have a recession technically during. I shouldn't say that, but we had a back in just post GFC, post the Sydney Olympics.
Yeah.
There was John Howard had to do all sorts of things to stop the economy going into recession because it was just we had a big sugar hit basically, and everyone just wanted a break for a while.
Yeah.
And I think he did some stuff with the fuel tax and other bits and pieces to sort of prevent the economy crashing. But we went from we had a shop front in Adelaide where people used to come in and buy access to the internet because it really was hard to do. People used to mail us checks in. It was really hard to do with even credit cards back then were near impossible. And we used to have a line out the front of our store. It wasn't a small store. We'd have sometimes sort of 15, 2 dozen people outside the door. And then all of a sudden one day that just stopped and no one turned up for about 3 months. And that is literally scary as hell. And we didn't have that wide. When that hit so fast, there was no telemetry could help you, if you know what I mean. So, but yeah, act based off data. Gather all the information you can. The gut has no brain cells. Don't do gut reaction, or don't do solely gut reaction, and manage it with a really intelligent approach to information you've gathered.
Yeah, yeah. You also had a business disruption in your ISP. I believe it was to do with Telstra.
Yeah, that was a big one. Yeah. That was before the recession one. That was when Telstra basically stuffed up and installed a piece of equipment called the RIM. They weren't very well known back then. In the DSL days, in the sort of early 2000s, mid 2000s, they became very well known for poor quality connections through DSL. But back then, because we were ordering so many telephone lines, Telstra said, "Hey, we can just pull a fibre optic cable in, and instead of actually pulling individual copper from the exchange, we can just do it from your back room." And they just stuffed up, and literally, we were having customers leaving us hand over fist. It was really quite scary as well, and I'm getting a confidential settlement out of Telstra over that. I never never wanted the confidence because screw them. They almost sent us broke.
Yeah.
So that was that was scary days.
Mm.
And we knew what was going on. Okay, still had data. So we had a computer-based business. People used to dial up into our modem, use their modem to use a telephone line to dial our modem, which is attached to the computer, and we could get telemetry off the modems into the computer, into our log files. And we can see that instead of people connecting at 33.6, which was the high speed of the day, they're only connecting at 22 and 1900 and 19,000, excuse me, and really low speed.
Yeah.
And back then, if you didn't connect it, if you had a 33.6K modem, you didn't connect at least 28 or above, you'd hang up and do it again because K bits a second, it's really slow to run.
Yeah.
So, and we could see with the speeds just weren't there. And so we had a lot of information that we could sort of go to our telco, there's only one, and so, hey, this is what's happening. And then it still took them, golly, I don't know how long, but weeks if not months to pull their fingers out and go and upgrade the software. And hey, bingo, it all worked. God bless them.
Yeah. Wow. I think business disruption's never fun. So sounds like you got to be ready for anything, and then not when you're not ready. It's you just got to deal with it and chew like hell.
Yeah, we'll get that right now. We're in the venture business, and in 2021 was an amazing year for the entire industry. Late 2022 and 2023 have been quite quiet, which is not good. When you're in the money managing business, you make a fee for managing people's money. If there's not as much to manage, you don't make as much fee. It's about that simple.
Yeah.
So that's been. We had a front row seat and we could see it coming, so it didn't surprise us. And we're still trying to understand where the bottom of that is. And I think it's probably a good year or two out, to be honest. But we're somewhat sanguine there. We don't have a business that people have to use. We put an investment out to a bunch of investors, a bunch like 650 great customers,
Yeah.
about 10 times a year. And so there's no urgency. Like no one's going to die if we don't put an investment to our investors.
Mm.
If you didn't provide your internet service, or we had fiber in the second business, we had fiber routes and data centers and submarine cables. That was you had to get that stuff fixed like ASAP. So investing business is quite sedate in comparison.
Yeah, it seems more supply chain in the sense of a bit more slow moving, if you will. So that's, I guess that makes it a bit easier.